Welcome back to our channel and remember to subscribe. I'm so glad you're here because today we have to talk about something that is honestly equal parts hilarious and revealing. Have you seen the latest from Tom Sykes? Because let me tell you, Tom Sykes is having an absolute grade A huge meltdown right now. It is honestly a sight to behold. For months, or honestly probably years at this point, Sykes has been one of the loudest voices mocking any suggestion that there might be a bridge being built between the palace and California. He spent so much time devoting reams of pages to mocking Richard Eden's Project Thaw conspiracy theory. You know, the idea that the British government actually wants Prince Harry back in the fold for diplomatic and stability reasons. Well, fast forward to today, and Sykes now appears to be a firm, frantic believer in that very theory himself. The irony is just too rich. It's like watching someone spend all day saying the sky isn't blue and then suddenly screaming that they're being blinded by the azure light. He is feeling the heat, and it is laughable to see him scramble. The real question we have to ask ourselves here, if there is even a grain of truth to these rumors of a thaw, is what does that say about the Prince and Princess of Wales, or as many are calling them lately, William and Kate Macbeth? Think about it. If King Charles and the British government are even considering coordinated messaging behind the scenes with Harry, it suggests they might have more trust and confidence in a man who lives thousands of kilometers away on another continent than they do in the couple right next door. Harry is a man that, let's be honest, the press and the Macbeths have seemingly done everything to try to destroy. If the powers that be are looking toward California for a sense of stability or a plan B, it really puts the current standing of William and Kate into a very harsh perspective. It raises the question, why would the government feel the need to look elsewhere if everything was going perfectly with the heirs? It's been obvious for years now, at least to those of us paying attention, that neither the British government nor King Charles seem to have a massive amount of confidence in Willie and Kate's ability to lead or represent the brand on a global stage. I mean, just look at their recent engagements. They've been reduced to being little more than football hooligans or doing these constant me PR stunts on the periphery of real, substantive royal work. It's all very surface level, isn't it? While the grown-ups are dealing with the actual statecraft and the future of the monarchy, the Waleses seem stuck in a cycle of photo ops that don't really move the needle. It's no wonder Sykes is panicked. He sees the writing on the wall that the Project Thaw he mocked might actually be a pragmatic necessity for a government that realizes the current star players aren't quite hitting the mark. I'm only sharing snippets of this Sykes article with you because honestly, it is an extremely long, exhausting whinge-fest. I read the whole thing so you don't have to, and believe me, it was a struggle. The sheer desperation in his tone is what really gets me. He fears that King Charles might be trying his absolute best to have secret talks with Prince Harry, and the idea of that reconciliation clearly keeps him up at night. Now, we have to remember, all of this talk about Harry's relationship with King Charles and the government is strictly in the realm of rumors right now. Nothing has been confirmed. But the fact that the mere possibility of it is causing these royal commentators to lose their minds is so telling. They've built their entire careers on the Harry is the villain narrative. And if the king himself decides that narrative no longer serves the crown, people like Sykes are going to be out of a job, or at least out of a script. It's just funny how the tables turn, isn't it? Sykes is out here acting like a jilted lover because his Project Thaw mockery aged like milk. He's realizing that in the high-stakes game of monarchy and government, personal feelings often take a back seat to survival and public image. If the British government thinks Harry is an asset they need back in the rotation, they will push for it, regardless of how many angry articles Sykes writes. The heat he's feeling is the realization that he might be on the wrong side of history and the wrong side of the king's future plans. It's a drama better than any soap opera, and we are here for all of it. Now, let's dive deeper into this whole Tom Sykes fiasco, because the more you unpack his sudden about-face, the more hilarious and desperate it truly becomes. I mean, we are talking about a man who has made a literal career out of scoffing at any suggestion that the Sussexes could ever find the path back into the establishment's good graces. Every time Richard Eden brought up Project Thaw, which, let's remember, is the alleged back-channel plot involving high-level political figures and courtiers who want to bring Harry back into the fold to stabilize the monarchy's global image, Sykes would practically choke on his morning tea laughing at it. He wrote reams of pages detailing why it was a total fantasy, a delusion from Montecito, and completely dead in the water. But look at him now. The shift in his tone is so sudden you could get whiplash just reading his columns. He is panicking, and you can practically smell the flop sweat through the screen. He's gone from "this is a ridiculous conspiracy theory" to "oh my god, the king and the government are actually talking behind our backs." It is the ultimate journalistic self-own, and honestly, seeing these royal gatekeepers lose their absolute minds is the best entertainment on the internet right now. What's really driving this meltdown is pure, unadulterated fear. Sykes is terrified because he's realizing that his entire narrative, the one where Harry is permanently cast out in the dark while the rest of the family rides off into a glorious, unified triumph, might be completely falling apart. He fears that the King Charles is actively doing his best to open up lines of communication with his youngest son. And why does that scare him so much? Because if the king decides that a reconciliation is what's best for the family and the country, all of these commentators who spent years burning bridges on behalf of the palace are going to look incredibly foolish. They've backed themselves into a corner where they have to hate Harry to stay relevant, but the actual head of state might be moving in a completely different direction. The heat is on, and Sykes is feeling it big time. He's realizing that the chess pieces are moving behind the scenes, and he wasn't invited to the match. But let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this whole Project Thaw rumor opens up a massive can of worms regarding the Prince and Princess of Wales. If the British government and the king are genuinely looking at Harry as a potential asset to bring back into the rotation, what does that say about William and Kate? People online have taken to calling them William and Kate Macbeth lately, and honestly, you can see why the comparison is sticking. They've presented themselves as the ultimate flawless future of the monarchy, the golden couple who can do no wrong. Yet, if these rumors are true, the government apparently has so little faith in their current star power that they are willing to look thousands of kilometers away, across an entire ocean, to a man the establishment has spent years trying to socially and professionally destroy. That is a stinging indictment of the Wales's current standing. If William and Kate were truly crushing it, if their leadership was inspiring and robust, nobody in the government would be wasting a single second trying to thaw things out with Harry. Instead, what we've seen over the last few years is a steady decline in the substance of William and Kate's public roles. It's been glaringly obvious that neither the government nor Charles seems to have a high level of confidence in their ability to carry the heavy lifting of global diplomacy. Think about it. What have they actually been doing lately? They've been reduced to acting like high-profile football hooligans, showing up at matches, waving scarves, and relying on these incredibly shallow me PR stunts on the absolute periphery of actual royal duty. It's all highly curated slow-motion Instagram reels and heavily stage-managed photo ops that scream desperation for validation. While the real work of statecraft requires gravitas and global appeal, the Waleses are treating the monarchy like a localized influencer campaign. They're stuck in this bubble of safe domestic engagements because whenever they try to step onto the international stage, it just doesn't seem to land with the same weight. That's exactly why the establishment is panicking and why commentators like Sykes are having a total breakdown. They see the writing on the wall. They know that a monarchy cannot survive on stadium appearances and matching outfits alone. If the British government feels the need to coordinate messaging behind the scenes with California, it's because they recognize that Harry still possesses a unique global cultural currency that the current working royals just can't replicate. Now, of course, we have to keep our feet on the ground here. Harry's relationship with King Charles and any supposed government plot is strictly in the realm of rumors and intense speculation right now. Nothing is set in stone, and the palace would never openly admit it to it anyway. But the fact that the mere whisper of a reconciliation is enough to send the royal press pack into an absolute tailspin tells you everything you need to know about where the real power and anxiety lie. They aren't confident in the future they've built, and it's hilarious. When you look at the absolute state of this entire situation, it becomes brilliantly clear why Tom Sykes is spiraling into the final stages of this massive public meltdown. He's realizing that the carefully constructed house of cards he and his media peers built is starting to wobble under the weight of its own hypocrisy. For years, the narrative was simple: lock Harry out, throw away the key, and pretend the monarchy is stronger than ever. But you cannot run a centuries-old institution on spite and petty PR stunts. If these behind-the-scenes rumors of King Charles and the British government exploring a thaw are true, it proves that pragmatism always wins over personal grudges in the corridors of power. The establishment knows that the current setup with William and Kate is a localized, shrinking brand. They need global reach, and they are panicking because they realize they might have thrown away their most effective international ambassador in an effort to protect the heirs' egos. The irony of Sykes having to swallow his own words after mocking Project Thaw for so long is just the icing on the cake. He's feeling the heat because he knows that if a reconciliation ever does happen, even a purely administrative, coordinated one, the entire media apparatus that thrived on fueling this family division is going to look completely obsolete. They will have to pivot so fast they'll give themselves whiplash, trying to explain why the man they demonized for years is suddenly being consulted by the crown again. It's a laughably desperate position to be in, and it's why his latest articles have devolved into an incredibly long, exhausting whinge-fest. He's screaming into the void, hoping that if he complains loudly enough, he can stop the wheels of statecraft from turning. But let's keep our perspective grounded here before we wrap up. At the end of the day, all of this talk about Harry's relationship with King Charles, secret phone calls, and coordinated government messaging remains in the realm of rumors and intense speculation. The palace walls are thick, and the true nature of what is happening behind the scenes will likely stay under wraps for a long time. However, the sheer panic, the frantic damage control, and the public meltdowns from commentators like Sykes give the game away. They are terrified of what the future looks like because they know the current strategy isn't working. And that brings us to the grand finale, the absolute peak of this entertainment, because Tom Sykes' sudden spiral into full-blown panic isn't just about him being wrong, it's about the total collapse of the royal media consensus. Think about the sheer arrogance it took for commentators like him to spend years mocking the very idea of a Project Thaw. They laughed at the notion that the British establishment would ever need Harry back. They wrote off Richard Eden's theories as complete delusions. Yet here we are, watching Sykes completely choke on his own words as the evidence piles up right in front of his face. He is feeling the absolute heat of a changing narrative, and the fact that he is now the one screaming about a coordinated behind-the-scenes effort between King Charles and the government is nothing short of laughable. He's terrified that he's about to be left behind by the very institution he dedicated his career to defending. What this entire meltdown exposes is the deep-seated insecurity running rampant through the royal press pack. They are realizing that in the grand game of statecraft, personal feelings and media-driven grudges mean absolutely nothing. If King Charles and the British government decide that establishing a line of communication with California is necessary for the stability and global image of the monarchy, they will do it without a single thought for how foolish it makes people like Tom Sykes look. Sykes is terrified because his entire business model relies on Harry being a permanent outsider. If the king is trying his absolute best to have talks with his son, the narrative of a fractured, permanent exile falls completely apart. It leaves the commentators holding a bag of outdated grievances while the actual players move on. But let's look at the underlying reason for this sudden shift in anxiety. It all comes back to the glaring lack of confidence the establishment seems to have in the Prince and Princess of Wales. If William and Kate, our modern-day Macbeths of PR, were truly providing the robust, dynamic leadership the monarchy needs, no one would be whispering about a backup plan. Instead, they spent the last few years shrinking their roles, reducing themselves to localized, shallow photo ops and behaving like high-profile football hooligans rather than global statesmen. They are stuck on the periphery of real substance, doing me PR stunts that fail to capture the world imagination. When the government looks out at a changing world, they see a Wales brand that is increasingly isolated, and it makes total pragmatic sense why they might quietly look across the Atlantic for a solution. Of course, we have to keep our feet firmly on the ground and remember that all of this talk regarding Harry's relationship with King Charles and the British government is entirely built on rumors and intense speculation right now. No one has signed an official document, and the palace will continue to deny everything until the day they can't. But the truth isn't found in their official denials, it's found in the absolute terror of the royal rota. The fact that an article by Tom Sykes can turn into such an incredibly long, exhausting whinge-fest proves that the establishment is deeply unsettled. They see the writing on the wall, and they know the current strategy isn't working. Thank you all so much for watching this 4-part deep dive with me today. If you love dissecting this royal chaos, please hit that like button and remember to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next breakdown. Stay tuned and I will see you all in the next video.